Ms. Harris, it's easy to look at the data on scams and frauds and see a pretty scary story. 18,000 scams reported in Ohio last year, according to the FBI, $100 million in losses. But like everything, we do a lot of things with data and statistics here, but it obviously affects individuals, and every individual has a story. To run through kind of the human toll of scams for Cuyahoga County residents.
Well, when scammers are able to, to take a huge chunk of someone's life savings, it really is life-altering for them. First of all, they had saved money for their retirements, as you had mentioned, and it's no longer available to them. Second of all, there is a lot of strife within the family. Grown children are very upset when older people lose money to scams. We all have this picture of what scam victims are supposed to be. They're like super vulnerable people who aren't anything like us, aren't running around doing errands, doing work. But the truth is most scam victims are very much like us. They're vibrant people living lives. And these people who have savings set aside, they plan to use it through their retirement, and now it's gone. So what we see is then grown children having to take money out of their savings, out of their kids' college funds to help their parents who were really well set, help them do daily expenses because now they're living check to check. In addition, I think it's a great point that this causes depression in older people. It's traumatizing to realize that you believe something so fully that you handed over your money to someone. And it's hard for us to get our heads around how we as thinking people could do that, but it happens to people all the time. And it happens to young people as well as old people. But it's truly devastating, and it rips families, really rips them apart.
Thank you for sharing that, similar to what Ms. Nofziger said. Ms. Nofziger, Americans know to use common sense about scams, to ignore phish emails. People are pretty good at that, I think. But I'm concerned that scammers are getting more sophisticated, more professional, more high-tech than ever, making it harder for people to protect themselves. How are the risks of fraud and scams changing? And in your experience, what have you seen with technology and more sophistication?
Thank you for that question, Senator. In my opinion, a scam is a scam and a fraud is fraud. So even with the onset of technology, still at the basis, what they're after is your money or your personal information. And so what we really try to do at AARP is help people understand what the ask is. So don't get caught up in all the nuances with technology or AI or whatever it is. But I will say one of the biggest changes I've seen with technology is how fast these criminals can get our victims' money, particularly with the onset of cryptocurrency ATM machines that are located across this country. We are seeing victims lose thousands to millions of dollars in these crypto ATM machines, and just like that, the money is gone. So that's definitely, when it comes to technology, one of the things I've seen. But again, fraud is fraud, and we just need to listen for the ask. If they're asking you for personal information or money, it's a scam, and run away.
Yesterday, thank you for that. Yesterday, I met with a group that comes in every year to see me, usually twice a year, a number of people from the Ohio Credit Union League. And these are people that run credit unions in all parts of the state. And they were talking about exactly that, which is a pretty new phenomenon. One last question. Ms. Harris again, thank you. You point out Americans are busy. Their jobs, kids, grandkids, not thinking about someone trying to scam them. Who is better positioned to detect and stop scams on payment platforms, consumers or the companies themselves?
Well, I'll tell you something. I think of scammers like spiders. They're spinning this incredible, deceitful web, and consumers get caught in that, and they get wrapped so tight in the story, they often cannot extract themselves. And we know, because we try to do, if we hear from a family member, we'll try to extract someone from a little longer term scam, and it is hard. We know consumers tell us sometimes that a police officer talked to them and told them they thought something was a scam, but they were so trusting of I guess the scammer had built such a bond with them that the consumer then walks away with the phone and says, okay, a police officer just told me that this was a scam. Are you a scammer? And the scammers will say something like, that's a local cop. This is federal. They don't understand what we do. I mean, they have an answer for everything. But what you should know is even in these one and done kind of scams, and I mean like, an arrest scam. We're going to arrest you because you failed to show up for jury duty, right? Those people are, they're on the phone with scammers, keep them on the phone for 3 and 4 and 5 hours. They are so wrapped in this story, they are incapable, in my opinion, it would be impossible for all people who encounter scams and engage with scammers to pull themselves out of that. They cannot do it. There needs to be something beyond that stops the scam and stops the damage until they can just step away from the panic that they feel and, see their situation from a different viewpoint. And that doesn't happen with things like crypto or these instantaneous payments. And payments, there are so many new kinds of financial payment systems that are growing up through the cracks of regulations. I mean, the rules don't always go over them, right? But also consumers themselves. When a scammer tells someone, this is a government account, and you're going to go to a government kiosk, which is actually just, a machine that's crypto equipped, people think, well, okay, that sounds reasonable. And sometimes scammers who, can get remote access to people's computers, they'll say, well, you need to log onto your account because there's something wrong with your account. So people log onto their bank account, right? And they say, well, there are all these payments that are coming in. So they'd say, type in these codes and I can show you. Then the scammer has access to the computer, and what they're able to do is they reach in while the consumer is on their looking at their checking account. They reach behind that. They pull money out of their savings. They drop it into the checking account. And so the consumer sees with their own eyes, oh, there was a big payment. That must have been from drug traffickers because I didn't make it. There are so many levels of deception. We have got to help people.
It's pretty clear from your answer, because I asked the companies better positioned to spot fraud. It's clear they are.
Sorry, I didn't
Hey,
answer
that's
that
okay.
question at all, but thanks.
That's fine, I get it. So my time's around. Senator Brett.